Year 2, welcome to the last part of Horrid Henry's Stinkbomb. And the fourth part, as I told you yesterday, is called Horrid Henry's Sleepover. So let's start. Horrid Henry loved sleepovers. Midnight feast, pillow fight, screaming and shouting, rampaging till dawn. It has been so long since we've been able to have sleepovers because of all the lockdown rules and the fact that we can't go to each other's houses. So I bet we're all looking forward to sleepovers when we're back to normal. The time he ate all the ice cream at Greedy Graham's and left the freezer door open, he loved. And the time he jumped all over the beds at Dizzy Dave's and broke them all. And that time at Rude Ralph's when he... Oh, well, probably shouldn't mention that one. There was just one problem. No one would ever have Henry at their house for a sleepover more than once. Whenever he went to sleep at someone's house, Mum and Dad were sure to get a call at 3 a.m. from a demented parent screaming at them to pick up Henry immediately. So he gets invited, but he doesn't get invited back. Horrid Henry couldn't understand it. Parents were so fussy. Even the parents of great kids like Rude Ralph and Greedy Graham. Who cares about a little noise or a broken bed? Big deal, thought Henry. It was no fun having friends sleep over at his house. There was no rampaging and feasting at Henry's. It was lights out at usual 9 o'clock. No talking, no feasting, no fun. So when new Nick, who had just joined Henry's class, invited Henry to stay the night, Horrid Henry couldn't believe his luck. New beds to bounce on. New biscuit tins to raid. New places to rampage. It would be bliss. Henry packed his sleepover bag as fast as he could. Mum came in. She looked grumpy. Got your pyjamas? She asked. Henry never needed pyjamas at sleepovers because he never went to bed. Got them, said Henry, just not with him, he thought. Don't forget your toothbrush, said Mum. I won't, he said. He never forgot his toothbrush. He just chose not to bring it. Dad came in. He looked even grumpier. Don't forget your comb, said Dad. Horrid Henry looking at his bulging backpack stuffed with toys and comics. Sadly, there was no room for a comb. I won't, lied Henry. I'm warning you, Henry, said Mum. I want you to be on the best behaviour. Of course, said Henry. I don't want any phone calls at 3 a.m. from Nick's parents, said Dad. If I do, this will be your last sleepover ever. I mean it. Nag, nag, nag. All right, said Horrid Henry. Ding dong. Woof, 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 woof. A woman opened the door. She was wearing a Viking helmet on her head and long flowing robes. Behind her stood a man in a velvet cloak, holding back 5 enormous snarling dogs. Tra-la-la, boom, da-da-da-da, boomed a dreadful ear-splitting voice. Bravo, bravo, shouted a chorus from the sitting room. Growled the dogs. Horrid Henry hesitated. Did he have the right house? Was new Nick an alien? Oh, don't mind us, dear. It's our opera club's karaoke night, trilled the Viking helmet. Nick, bellowed the cloak, your friend's here. Nick appeared. Henry was glad to see he wasn't wearing a Viking helmet or a velvet cloak. Hi, Henry, said new Nick. Hi, Nick, said Horrid Henry. A little girl toddled over, sucking her thumb. Henry, this is my little sister Lily, said Nick. Lily gazed at Horrid Henry. I love you, Henry, said lisping Lily. Will you marry with me? No, said Horrid Henry. Ugh, what a revolting thought. Go away, Lily, said Nick. Lily didn't move. Come on, Nick, let's get out of here, said Henry. No toddler was going to spoil his fun. Now, what would he do first, raid the kitchen or bounce on the beds? Let's raid the kitchen, said Henry. Great, said Nick. Got any good sweets? Asked Henry. Loads, said new Nick. Yes, thought Horrid Henry. This sleepover was beginning to sound like fun. They sneaked into the kitchen. The floor was covered with dog blankets, overturned food bowls, clumps of dog hair, and gnawed dog bones. There were a few suspicious-looking puddles. Henry hoped they were water. Here are the biscuits, said Nick. Henry looked. Were those dog hairs all over the jar? No thanks, said Henry. How about some sweets? Sure, said Nick. Help yourself. He handed Henry a bar of chocolate. Oh, yummy! Henry was about to take a big bite when he stopped. Were those teeth marks in the corner? Suddenly, a big black shape jumped on Henry, knocking him down and snatched the chocolate. Look at what it is. Nick's dad burst in. Give that back, said Nick's dad, yanking the chocolate out of the dog's mouth. Sorry about that, Henry, he said, offering it back. Maybe later. Okay, said Nick's dad, putting the slobbery chocolate back in the cupboard. Oh, that's gross, thought Horrid Henry. I love you, Henry, came a lisping voice behind him. Ha 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 ha, warbled a high, piercing voice from the sitting room. Henry held his ears. Oh, would the window shatter soon? Encore! Shrieked the Opera Karaoke Club. Will you bowie with me? Lisping Lily said. Oh, let's get out of here, said Horrid Henry. Horrid Henry leapt on Nick's bed. Yippee, thought Horrid Henry. Time to get bouncing. Bounce! Crash! The bed collapsed in a heap. What happened? Said Henry. I hardly did anything. Oh, I broke the bed ages ago, said Nick. Dad said he was tired of fixing it. Oh, thought Henry. Well, that's lazy. How about a pillow fight? No pillows, said Nick. The dogs chewed them. They could sneak down and raid the freezer, but for some reason, Henry didn't really want to go back into that kitchen. I know, said Henry. Let's watch TV. Sure, said New Nick. Where's the TV? Said Henry. In the sitting room, said New Nick. But the karaoke, said Henry. Well, they won't mind. They're used to noise in this house. Horrid Henry sat with his face pressed to the TV. He couldn't hear a word Mutant Max was saying with all that racket in the background. Maybe we should go to bed, said Horrid Henry, sighing. Anything to get away from the house, from the noise in the house. Okay, said New Nick. Phew, thought Horrid Henry. Peace at last. And then... Horrid Henry turned over in his sleeping bag and tried to get comfortable. He hated sleeping on the floor. He hated sleeping with the window open. He hated sleeping with the radio on. And he hated sleeping in the same room with someone who snored. Do you guys snore? Oh! Howled the wind to wind through the open window. The radio blared. Woof, 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 barked the dogs. Oh! Squealed Henry as 5 wet, smelly dogs pounced on him. Ooh! Howled the wind. Snore, snore. The opera karaoke was beaming downstairs. Horrid Henry loved noise normally, but this was too much. He'd have to find somewhere else to sleep. Horrid Henry flung open the bedroom door. I love you, Henry, said lisping Lily. Slam! Horrid Henry shut the door again. He didn't move. He didn't breathe. Then he opened the door just a tiny fraction to peer out. Will you marry with me, Henry? Oh! Horrid Henry ran from the bedroom and barricaded himself in the linen cupboard. He settled down on a pile of towels. Phew! Safe at last. And then came a little voice beside him. I love you, Henry. No! It was 3 a.m. The Opera Karaoke Club was still going on. New Nick was snoring. The wind was howling. The dogs were barking. Horrid Henry crept to the hall phone and dialed his number. Dad answered. I'm so sorry about Henry. Do you want us to come and get him? Dad mumbled. Yes, wailed Henry. I need to sleep. And there's a picture of him on the phone to his dad. I hope you enjoyed those 4 Horrid Henry short stories. I thought they were a nice change. Although Henry, not a nice character. I'm so glad none of us are like that. I hope you have a lovely weekend and stay safe, and I'll see you next week for more story time.